Nix, J.K. Dobbins, and the Denver Broncos take on Geno Smith, Ashton Jeanty, and the Las Vegas Raiders in an AFC West showdown. Now, the Denver Broncos are coming off of a last-second game-winning field goal win against the Houston Texans. A very tough game on the road. They needed everything to get this W. Did Bo Nix play his best game of the year? Absolutely not. He had his ups and downs, less than 50% completion percentage on the day, but they still were able to have enough success at the end of that thing to win it. You have to give a lot of credit to this defense. Once again, no Pat Surtain on the field. He'd been previously injured, and this defense goes out there. What do? They get pressure on the quarterback, 4 sacks. Once again, they're getting pressure on everybody right now, and you have to give this team credit for pulling out a win after they were down. They were trailing 15-7 for a lot of that second half, and they pull out 11 points in the fourth quarter. A couple of weeks after that crazy fourth quarter against the New York Giants. This is a team that is showing that they have a tough identity. Now, for the Las Vegas Raiders, I can say a lot of the same. This team showed their mettle in a loss against the Jacksonville Jaguars. It came down to the final play of overtime. They're down by 1. They decide we're going to go for the win, go for 2 to try and get this W here at home. And the pass is batted down. Geno Smith, far and wide, his best game of the season. 75% completion percentage, 4 touchdowns, 280 yards. Ashton Jeanty, did they get him quite going to the way that they wanted him to? Absolutely not. I'd expect them to try and rely on that a little bit more in this matchup. They have to get this ground game going if they want to have a chance against Denver. This is a much better secondary for the Broncos than what they have in Jacksonville. Of course, there is a little bit of younger players, and there's some good talent littered throughout that Jacksonville roster. Now, the number one key in this game, staying on the back of the ground game, I really believe is how much of a factor Max Crosby is and that Oakland Raider front seven to stop this Denver Bronco rushing attack. It seems like Bo Nix's easy success hinges a lot on how well the Broncos do on the ground. When you have a day where it's a little bit slower and they have, 100 yards rushing on 23 carries, still ran the ball for close to 4.5 yards a carry, but not otherworldly numbers from J.K. Dobbins and R.J. Harvey, only 2 carries for 5 yards, and then Bo Nix supplanting some yards with his legs himself. It's a little bit of a struggle, right? You don't quite have that balance. You got to give a lot of credit to the Houston Texans in that pass rush. They've still got a very good secondary. I think Stingley, Surtain, those are the top 2 corners in the league. Would have loved to see Surtain on the field and get that action of them going back and forth here. When you have an AFC West matchup, a lot of the time you can sort of throw out the records. A 2-6 Raider team, I know how much that says about them. But what about Brock Bowers, though? In his return, he has a massive performance. 12 catches, 127 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Arguably a top 10 tight end performance in NFL history. This is not something for the weak of heart, in the sense of for people that drafted somebody over Brock Bowers when they could have taken this kid. Look, he's been battling injuries. He's one of the tougher players. I still can't overstate that performance. I mean, if you're a fantasy football person, you're talking about a guy, 12 catches, that's 12 points in PPR league, 130 yards, that's another 13, so 25 plus the 18 points that you would get from the touchdowns. You're talking about what's 18 plus 24? Sounds a lot like 42, 43 fantasy points is what he put up. Incredible. It looks like Geno Smith has his man, and that's somebody that Denver needs to absolutely have eyes on throughout the entire day. They cannot let Brock Bowers ruin this game for them. I think this game has a possibility to throw a little bit of a wrench in the plans for Denver. Look, they're a 9.5-point favorites. They're at home. Thursday night football. Clearly, they have been the better team this season. They proved that they are tough. They can win games in all kinds of different ways, but also they showed that they can lose close games to the Los Angeles Chargers, to the Indianapolis Colts early in the season. If the Raiders can stay in this one, a team against LA, remember earlier in the year, they fought in that game, were in it in the fourth quarter. Can they do that against this Denver Bronco team? Being a tight one-score game in the fourth quarter, how do they do that? I think that it is a little bit different than what you saw against Jacksonville. It's running the ball more, shortening the game, keeping to a little bit more of that Pete Carroll game script where you're running the football, controlling the clock, easier completion for Geno Smith, make sure that he doesn't have more chances to turn the football over. Last thing you want to do against Denver is give them an opportunity to get that pass rush unleashed. One of the better teams in the NFL getting after the quarterback. Jonathan Cooper playing some of the better defense in the league right now. And there's a whole bunch of other guys. I really think this Denver Bronco team is a bona fide top 5 defense in the NFL. And again, you saw that caliber of Houston. 18-15 game is very low scoring in the National Football League when the average amount of points is right around 23 and a half points scored is right around that league average. So that's far below that, just about a touchdown. And it was fun for me. I've grown up around that northern style of football, Big Ten, that ground and pound, a lot more defense, that type of matchup. I felt very comfortable watching this one. I really think this is big for Denver. Look, when you talk about divisional matchups, conference matchups, these are huge, and you could easily potentially overlook the Raiders. I think that they're very well coached. Sean Payton will not allow that to happen. He's going to get Bo Nix easy completions. They're going to settle into this game early. He's going to put his quarterback in a good situation to succeed. A lot easier environment than being on the road at NRG Stadium there in Houston and taking on C.J. Stroud. Of course, C.J. Stroud knocked out of that game early on in the day. And then Davis Mills, look, he was somewhat serviceable for them. Clearly that impacted the game and limited what the Texans could do as an offense, and now their season's pretty much on the brink with a 3-5 record. Them, the Baltimore Ravens, it's kind of amazing. My prediction going into the season was Ravens-Texans AFC Championship game. My goodness, has that blown up. That looks terrible right now. You can just about guarantee only one of those teams or neither of them makes the playoffs, whereas Denver right now, they're tied atop the AFC right there with the Colts, and that loss to them could loom large. That could be the difference between them getting the 1 seed or the 2 seed because of that tiebreaker head-to-head that Indianapolis holds over them. So that's what we talk about, these AFC West matchup. You've already have a loss to the Los Angeles Chargers. When you have them, again, that's a game that's going to have to be a win because these tiebreakers are so important when you talk about the divisional races, seeding in the NFL playoffs. You know how good this Broncos team is, how tough they will be to beat if they do get a home game or two in the playoffs. Certainly that's a place that just about nobody wants to go. Cold weather, potentially some snow in those conditions, and this team is built for it. I truly believe that they are. The Ashton Jeanty experience is such a roller coaster because it's week to week. For the most part on the season, you have seen him take advantage of opportunities. There just have not been all that many. I like the way that they protected Geno Smith back there. He was only sacked 1 time on the day. That was an improvement again. That's a very talented, I think he actually did get sacked 2 times, but that's still a talented Jacksonville defensive line. Josh Hines out with a sack and a half and a tackle for loss. Trayvon Walker, the young edge defender, former first overall pick in the draft a couple of seasons ago. That's a very talented front, and I thought they did a decent job. The tackles for loss against them, they had 5 behind the line of scrimmage. You got to do a better job of blocking up front, and there needs to be a semblance of really sticking with the run. It's weird to say about Pete Carroll and Darren Ham to stick with it, but I want to see that against Denver. This is a Denver defense that wants to get after the quarterback, drop into their zones, or go to man and really force you to methodically march the football down the field. What can help mitigate a good pass rush and a good team in coverage? Well, that's a run game and take all that pressure off your quarterback. Look, the Raiders realistically don't have much to offer for the rest of the season. A 2-6 record, far and wide behind the rest of the teams in the AFC West. But look, divisional matchups. We've seen a team like the Raiders spoil a Christmas game against the Kansas City Chiefs. Max Crosby, one of the better defenders in football, this is still a guy that can wreck a game. A massive tackle for loss down there against Jacksonville. They forced that team to really earn it at the end where they end up scoring. But this team still responded, went down the field and scored a touchdown in overtime. I'm going to go with the Denver Broncos. 9.5, they're favored. I think they win by 10 points. It's hard for me to see that they don't get that ground going a little bit more against this Las Vegas Raider defense. I look at the way Jacksonville continued to go at them on the ground. Trevor Lawrence, not a very good day. He threw an interception. Rating was 73.2, but they ran the football 42 times. They gave the ball to Etienne 22 times. He had 84 yards. Tootin, 9 carries for 30. Trevor Lawrence on the ground. He had 2 touchdowns running the ball. He had 24 yards on the ground. So they're able to add that element of the legs and keep it on the ground. 42 carries for 150, 3 rushing touchdowns. That was the story of the day. It wasn't really Trevor Lawrence through the air. It was more so the ground game and the commitment of Liam Cohen to sticking with that. And what's right now why Jacksonville's 5-3 in position to make a run to get into the playoffs. I think that Denver can do something similar to that. J.K. Dobbins is that type of back. Can R.J. Harvey have a little bit more of a balance between them? A 10-point win. Bo Nix with a good performance in a 27-17 win for Denver. Let me know down below in the comments who you think wins this game, who you are going to be banking on, Geno Smith or Bo Nix in this head-to-head showdown. If you have not already, please subscribe for more content with Blitz with Blender. I'm Josh Blender. We're barreling towards the middle of November now. This is where the football season really starts to ramp up. These divisional matchups with playoff implications across the league. Every single game is important, but now it's vital for teams to be able to play well, especially when you have those divisional rivalries and those head-to-heads. So if you haven't already, please subscribe for more content, and I will see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. Best player in college football.
That Georgia and Ohio State game, New Year's Eve, is going to be a classic.
Josh Blender, hi everybody. I'm Josh.